Before we start this video, I want to ask you, do you believe you are smart enough to never be fooled? Most of the people I asked were very confident that they had carefully read the information, compared prices, and bought from reputable sources, even large stores, well-known websites, and advertisements that appear online every day. Sounds safe, right? I used to think that way too, until one day, I held in my hand a fake power tool sold under the guise of a genuine product, at a price not cheap enough to raise suspicion, and from a place where 99% of buyers would never think they were being deceived. What's scary isn't that counterfeit goods exist, but why do so many intelligent, careful, and even experienced people still fall into traps? In this video, I'll show you how scams work, why our brains are easily tricked, and a small sign that could save you from losing hundreds of dollars. If you don't want to lose money because of a mistake that many others have also made, watch this video to the end. Sometimes, knowing 3 minutes earlier can save you a month's salary. To be frank with you, every day that passes, somewhere in America, people still lose hundreds to even thousands of dollars just because they bought fake power tools. It's not on some obscure websites, but even on eBay, social media platforms, and even in large, reputable-looking stores. And the most remarkable thing is, they don't think they're doing anything wrong. I used to think the victims of these cases were gullible and uneducated. But the more I learned and heard the real stories, the more I realized most of them are very ordinary, even cautious people. They work all day and just want to quickly buy something to get it over with when they get home. Seeing a familiar logo, a large platform, and a price that wasn't too cheap to be suspicious. I clicked to buy, done. It's like you stop at the same familiar gas station every week, at the same spot, with the same sign. One day, someone diluted the gasoline a little. You're still pouring. It's not because you're stupid, but because you believe. Scams today don't shout, "I'm a scam." It moves very lightly, very reasonably, and very smoothly. The price isn't too low. The image looks clear. The ads are right in the middle of the things you already watch every day. And that's it. The uncomfortable truth is that scams don't target the uneducated. They target the busy. People who don't have time doubt everything. Those who think, it probably won't be my turn. Have you ever seen a tool advertisement and thought, this price seems too good to be true, but is it okay? Or, after buying it, didn't you check it carefully again? If so, you're not alone. And in the next part, I'll show you why counterfeits are so easily overlooked by buyers today, and how they're designed to trick our brains. Oh, if you find these things familiar and don't want to be next, subscribe to the channel. It's not just for fun, but to avoid having to pay tuition out of pocket later. If you still think counterfeit goods are thin, pale plastic items that feel flimsy when you pick them up, you're probably a few years behind the scammers. Counterfeits look even cheaper now. It's even taken very seriously. It's so serious that if you put it on a table, 9 out of 10 people would nod and say, "Yeah, it looks pretty good." I held the fake tools in my hand, and honestly, if I hadn't known beforehand, I wouldn't have been able to say for sure. The logo is correct, a true handheld rubber. The label looks familiar. The box is exactly like the real thing. It feels like meeting someone wearing a high-quality fake watch. From a meter away, there's nothing to suspect. And that's the problem. Humans are programmed to believe in familiar things, not to scrutinize every small detail. Now let's talk about the second trap, which is also the one that catches the most people. A good deal. But pay close attention. The most dangerous fakes aren't the ones that are unusually cheap, but the ones that are just cheap enough to make you hesitate. A tool that normally costs $140 is on sale for $40 to $50. How does it sound? It's not ridiculously cheap, but it's cheap enough for you to think. It must be warehouse clearance or heavily discounted stock. Let's imagine it this way for easier understanding. A restaurant you often visit, where a bowl of pho usually costs $10. Today, they're selling for $7. You're still eating. But if they sell it for $1, you'll immediately be suspicious. Counterfeit goods play the same game. In the tool industry, a decent profit of around 6 to 10% is already considered good. To put it simply, it's like you're working on a construction project and you make a few % profit after deducting all sorts of expenses. So, when you see a tool discounted by 60 to 70%, mathematically, it's like a contractor taking on an entire house renovation and saying they won't charge for their labor. Does that sound right? Or do I just want to believe? That's where the danger lies. The price isn't cheap enough to raise suspicion, but it's cheap enough to turn off the warning switch in your head. Next is something most of us overlook: packaging and miscellaneous details. Thin cardboard box. Seal is misaligned. The box lid looks like it's been cut or trimmed. Accessories were generously given as extras, a wrist strap, and other items that seemed like a good deal. But let's be honest. How often do you really examine the box when you receive your order? Or just think? As long as the tool works, that's all that matters. Just like a mouse looking at a piece of rich cheese. It doesn't stand there analyzing the spring behind it. The prey always looks at what it wants, not at the trap. Not to mention, counterfeit goods are sold today in an extremely legitimate context. The ads are right on the platforms you use every day. Sometimes it even includes a video review from a friend you've watched and trusted before. At that moment, your brain no longer thinks of it as a transaction, but rather, oh, this is familiar. And that's it. Let me ask you a sincere question. Have you ever bought a tool just because it looked familiar? Not necessarily because you'd checked it carefully. Have you ever thought, I can't be unlucky enough to buy fake goods? If the answer is yes, then you are exactly like most people who have been scammed. It's not because they lack understanding, but because this system is designed to prevent you from having time to doubt. And in the next part, we'll delve into something more interesting. Very small, very everyday details. But these are the things that immediately expose counterfeits. Those things that if you just look in the right place, you'll wonder, oh, how did I not notice that before? Oh, if what I'm saying sounds familiar. Or you've ever almost clicked buy now because of a good deal. Please subscribe to the channel. It's not to show off my knowledge, but so that next time you meet these students again, you'll be the one laughing, not the one paying tuition fees. There's a slightly uncomfortable truth, but it needs to be said directly. Scammers today don't need to find ignorant people to deceive. They just need people to believe. And to do that, they're not just standing outside at the flea market hawking their wares anymore. They go straight to where you trust the most: social media platforms, the places where you spend hours each day without being on guard. Think of it this way: if a completely unfamiliar website suddenly appears, you'd probably be suspicious. But when that ad is in the middle of the video you're watching, interspersed with your friends' posts, and looks just like any other normal ad, your brain automatically lowers its guard. You no longer think, I'm dealing with a scammer, but just think, oh, it's just an advertisement. And that's when things started. These scam websites are often very short-lived. Some last only a few weeks, others about a month. During that time, they ran crazy ads, collected money, and then disappeared as if they had never existed. Then, change the domain name, change the interface, and start over. And you, if you send an email asking about a product, call the hotline, or click Contact Us, you only get silence. Does that look familiar to you? How many people have bought something, waited forever without receiving the goods, and then consoled themselves? It's probably stuck in shipping. But the most dangerous trick, and the one that really annoys me, is impersonating others to sell goods. More specifically, impersonating an influencer. The scammers will take real review videos from me, you, or anyone with a little credibility and immediately attach them below the fake sales link. No permission, no announcement. It's simply borrowing images. And that's it. Viewers see a familiar face, a familiar voice, a familiar style. A very dangerous thought popped into their heads. Oh, I've seen this person before. I think it'll be okay. Trust isn't stolen. It's temporarily borrowed to deceive you. I've seen quite a few comments like, hey, where's my order? I bought through your link and didn't receive anything. While the truth is, I'm not selling anything at all. But at that time, the person who lost money didn't care who was right or wrong. They only know their trust has just been betrayed. It's like giving your house key to an acquaintance of your friends. It's not because you're stupid, but because you believe in that connection. And the scammers understand this very well. They don't need to build credibility from scratch. They are piggybacking on the reputation of others. Just a few weeks and a few $1,000s in advertising are enough to bring hundreds of people to follow a belief. Let me ask you this. Have you ever bought something just because you thought, "This person I saw before, it's probably okay"? I've seen ads before where I thought, "Oh, I think I've seen this before." If so, you've just hit on humanity's biggest weakness. We trust people we know faster than we trust reason. And there's another layer of deception, more sophisticated and annoying. The scammers don't force you to buy right away. They give you time. Let readers leave fake comments. Let me show you some pictures of customers who have received their orders. Everything was staged to look like a normal working store. No regrets, no rush. It's that very normalcy that makes people fall into the trap. But don't worry. The good news is, even if trust is exploited, there are ways to regain control. And in the next part, I'll show you some very small, very everyday signs that don't require any special knowledge. Just look in the right places and you'll immediately see the counterfeit revealed. Oh, if you've ever seen these kinds of ads, or almost clicked buy because they looked familiar, please subscribe to the channel. It's not about trusting me, but so that next time, you'll know when to trust and when to stop. At this point, I'll be honest with you. You don't need to be a professional. You don't need to open the machine, and you don't need any advanced knowledge to recognize a fake. The thing that turns him sometimes is ridiculously small. Small as a snail. It sounds simple, but precisely because it's too simple, 90% of buyers overlook it. The first time I discovered this was in a very ordinary situation. I placed the two machines side by side, looking back and forth. The logo is similar. Color is the same. It feels heavy in my hand. If there hadn't been any prior suspicion, I probably would have let it go. But then my eyes landed on something very insignificant. The screws holding the two halves of the machine together. On one side are star-shaped snails, one side is a cross screw, and that's when I was like, oh, so that's how it is. Genuine products, especially large tools, do not use ordinary screws. It's not for show, but because Torx screws are harder to tamper with, more durable, less likely to strip, and most importantly, counterfeiters are very reluctant to use them. It's costly and time-consuming. And yet, how many buyers even notice? Let me put it this way, for you to understand more easily. Imagine you're building a house and the homeowner insists on using high-quality screws and standard bolts. If you're still being careless, just grab the cheapest screw from the store. That thinking is exactly the same in the tool, but that's not all. Looking a little closer, you'll see that the rubber casing also says a lot. This is the real deal. The rubber layer goes deep into the screw hole, completely covering it. It looks very seamless, without a patched-up feel. What about counterfeit goods? The rubber is only glued on the outside to make it look like it. The screw holes still show bright yellow resin. At a quick glance, it looks fine. But upon closer inspection, you can immediately see it's just done for show. I bet you've never bent down to look at these screw holes before. Right. Then there's the size. This is a detail that you would hardly notice if you only held one in your hand. But when placed next to the real thing, fakes are often a little longer. About 2 centimeters. Not much, but enough to cause some very strange things. The box doesn't close tightly. The box lid is cut. The sticker looks a bit off. It's like wearing someone else's borrowed clothes. No one noticed right away, but it didn't fit. There's another detail that sounds small, but is extremely easy for people in America to fall for. Voltage. In the US, you're used to seeing 20 volts. It looks right, familiar, and textbook perfect. But with many tool lines, the genuine version in other markets is labeled 18 volts, while the counterfeit ones are labeled 20 volts to appeal to American buyers. And so, people believed? No need to think any further. I'm not saying that every time you see 20 volts, it's fake. I mean, if you only rely on familiar numbers to feel safe. That's exactly where the scammers are waiting for you. The funniest thing is this. You can watch dozens of review videos, read hundreds of comments, compare prices until your brain hurts. But the thing that saves you from losing $0 to $300 is sometimes just a cheap screw that the counterfeiters didn't even bother to get right. Let me ask you a question. The last time you bought a tool, did you look at the screws, or do you just plug in the battery, pull the trigger, and it's done when you see it running? I don't blame you. I used to be like that too. And that's why I'm sharing these details, not to show off, but so you don't have to pay tuition out of pocket. In the next part, we'll discuss a very practical matter, where to buy safely and how to buy to minimize risk, even if you still want to hunt for sales. After listing all the tricks and revealing the details of counterfeit goods, many people are likely to ask a very practical question. So, where should I buy to avoid headaches? I'll be blunt to avoid beating around the bush. There's no place that's absolutely safe, but there are places that are much less risky. If you understand where you're buying and why, first, let's talk about stores with physical locations, like Home Depot, Lowe's, Menards, Ace, etc. These places have a very important common point. They don't disappear after you click Buy Now. You buy online, have a problem. You can still bring the invoice to the counter, stand there and talk to a real person. No need to send emails and wait in vain. It sounds simple, but in these times, just having a place to return to is already a form of insurance. It's like buying a car from a dealership with a clear address, which is completely different from buying from a guy advertising online and then locking his phone. Of course, not everyone likes shopping at big chains. The price isn't always the cheapest, and the sales aren't as good as the online ads. But, in return, you buy peace of mind. And for many people, especially when buying expensive tools, that peace of mind is worth the price. What about buying online? Not everything online is a scam. The problem is where to buy it. There are websites that sell tools online, but behind them are real stores, real warehouses, and real people. Places like Ohio Power Tool, International Tool, Acme Tools, ToolUp aren't just randomly visited by many experienced tool users and professionals, simply because, if something happens, they'll still be there to handle it. Think of it this way for easier understanding. A store that has been around for a dozen or 2 decades, has a clear address, has warehouses, and a working phone number. They wouldn't be foolish enough to ruin their reputation just to scam you out of a few $100s. As for brand new websites with unfamiliar names, deep discounts, and unknown owners, the risk is right in front of you. There's a very interesting example that many people exclaim about after hearing it. Hartville Hardware. This hardware store is unbelievably large, 7 acres under one roof, meaning if that tool exists in the world, chances are you'll find it there. The funny thing is, places like that aren't good at online marketing and don't run big advertising campaigns, so few people know about them. Meanwhile, scam websites are running ads like they're burning money. So, let me ask you a question. Would you rather trust a quiet, long-standing business, or a place that shouts, "Sale 90% on your newsfeed every day"? A very practical, down-to-earth tip before you buy. Try to see if anyone has complained about it before. Type the shop name along with the words scam, review, or complaint. If you don't see anything, or if you see people complaining and someone still steps up to resolve the issue, that's a good sign. But if it's all warning articles, or there's no information beside advertisements, then you should stop. Remember this, the store doesn't disappear after you click Buy Now. Finally, I want to tell you why, even knowing all this, people still fall into traps, and how to create a reflex for yourself against deals that look too good to be true. Oh, if you find these shares helpful in making your tool purchases less confusing, please subscribe to the channel. It's not for you to hear me brag, but so that next time you see a good deal, you'll know to stop before you click buy. Having said that, I just want to make one thing very clear. You weren't tricked because you're stupid, but because this system is designed to make you believe. Counterfeits today are no longer obvious. It comes with a familiar brand, a familiar platform, and familiar faces, and just because you're busy, in a hurry, or think it won't be your turn, that's enough. The money you earn is not easy. Don't let it disappear just because of a careless click. Now I want to ask you a sincere question to open a discussion. Have you ever encountered tool advertisements with prices that seemed too good to be true? Or did you buy it first and then realize something was wrong? If so, tell your story in the comments section. Not to embarrass you, but so others don't have to pay the same tuition as you. If you find this video helpful in seeing things more clearly, please subscribe to the channel. It's not just for fun, but so that every time you see a deal that's too good to be true, you'll take an extra second to pause and ask yourself, is something wrong? The information shared in this video is based on personal experience, public information, and real-world observations, and does not represent or accuse any specific brands or stores. The sole goal is to raise awareness and help buyers protect themselves. Appointment. See you in the next video. And remember, a real bargain is one that helps you avoid wasting money.